listener production.
G'day, it's Rusty here, all set for part 2 of my podcast with one of the winningest team owners in the Tasman region, Lyall Williamson. Now, if you've arrived here and somehow missed part 1, jump back to the Rusty's Garage Library and give it a listen. From his early days cleaning wheels for Denny Holm to forming a very special friendship with the Bear, whose passing at Bathurst in 1992 rocked so many in the racing community. Plus, a fun yarn in a rally car with Jim Richards that left him green to say the least around the gills. Coming up, a controversial, bittersweet Bathurst win and his memories of working with all sorts of modern generation drivers, including Craig Baird, who I hope one day does another race with IMS. That would be a nice bookend of sorts. The incredible drive and focus Earl Bamber had, even as a young racer. And the moment Lyall had to ring Sir Colin Giltrap after a brand new race car was wrecked. We begin part 2 with reflections on when he truly felt comfortable that IMS was established and a proven performer. At what point did International Motorsport for you feel really cemented and away? You've talked about, some of the overseas missions that you've been on and so on, but in the early phase when you embark on something like that, was there ever any sort of difficulties, uncertainties? At what point did you think, right, with this, what you wanted to do and what this has now become, when did it feel?
I think when I thought we were achieving things was when I got taken to the World BMW Motorsport Awards in Pittsburgh or something, somewhere. And I flew there not knowing a lot about what's on, and I wasn't expecting anything. Mm-hmm. Plus, I'm an emotional guy and not good at speaking and things like that. I prefer just to
do your thing,
do my thing. Mm-hmm. And I got called up onto the stage, and I'm looking around thinking, that sounds like my name, but it's not my name. And everyone...
It felt surreal to you, did it?
Well, and then the guys at the table said, "That's you they're calling." "Who, me?" "Jesus, no." And they said, "Yes, it is." And, of course, part of it was you had those little earphones, so some of it was in English and the other language. So I go up there, and this guy gives this glowing bloody thing about these hicks in New Zealand who've done this, and this, and how many races we've done, and bloody all this sort of glorying thing. And I'm thinking, holy hell. And if I'm going to speak, I'm going to choke. So luckily, my old friend Rudy Miner knows that I'm not good at those sort of things. So he comes up onto the stage and saves my bacon by saying he doesn't...
not keen on speaking or something?
Well, no, he covered my ass by saying he's got a problem at the moment and he can't speak. So I go back and sit there, and one of those awards over there is what it was. And then the money that I was getting to run the team changed, and they also helped with BMW in New Zealand because we'd won, I think it was our 8th or 9th championship with Craig Baird and Jason Richards and
Amazing.
Brett Riley. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying it got easier, but I thought, well, we are getting somewhere these days. And yeah, but I don't think you ever get anywhere in motor racing. You just kid yourself that you do, and then it's hard work, as you know, especially in this little country.
Yeah, definitely. Let's bounce through some of those names. I'm glad you brought up. First of all, where did you first come into contact with Craig Baird? What was he like? And there's a beautiful downstairs. I think there's hanging on the wall. There's some BMW memorabilia. I think it's a jacket from Charlie Lamb, maybe Craig Baird race suit, Jason Richards race suit. I missed someone in the middle there as well, I think. So,
what happened was, after Denny passed away, we were put on hold, and BMW New Zealand said, look, we don't know what's going on. I said, well, funny enough, they're in touch with me. And they said, oh, no, they've got to go through us. So it was all that little pinpricking stuff. And they said, tell us who the drivers are. I said, well, I want to replace Denny with Brett Riley. And who the hell's Brett Riley? So I tell him who he is and the amazing stories that go on behind the scenes with Brett. And then I'm thinking about who we need is going to fill the young drivers' shoes. And I'm in my office up in Khyber Pass in the penny farthing days, and I hear this bloody bit of a ruckus in the reception area out there. And I opened the door, what's going on? And this little lady, our receptionist, said, this guy here won't go away. He's waiting to see you. Oh, I look at him, I think, oh, I know you. And I said, all right, you come in. Like, he almost pushed me out the doorway because he could get in, and he sits down. I said, you all right? And he goes, no, I need a job. I want to do... I said, hey, slow down. So he was so wound up, and he said, you know Dick Bennett? So I said, yeah. He said, I've been with him. I said, yeah, I've been reading about you. He said, not me, it's the car. The car's making use. I said, no. I said, well, I don't think you need to go around saying that. He said, oh, look, what can I do? I'll do anything. So I thought, he's a bag of trouble, so we'll come back to him. Yeah. So away he goes. He said, well, can I come back tomorrow? I said, no. He said, can I go down to the race shop and have a look? I said, there's nothing really there for you to see. The boys are just stripping the cars and blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, I could work there for you. You don't have to pay me. Oh, okay. So away he went, and I went back to life, get back to work the next day, and I get a phone call from Craig Owen, who, funny enough, is still working for me to this day.
Wow.
So...
You get a phone call?
And he says, Craig Baird's here. What do I do with him? And I said, well, you know, we're scraping the underseal off the bottom of the car. He goes, yeah. And I said, give him that job. Give him car 2 and tell him. So he lasted about a few hours, and then he disappeared again. But and then, of course, I looked around and we tried finding somebody, and I said to him, look, he's a mongrel. He wants to do it. He's bloody. We go for test day with a road-going M3 BMW. Yep. I said, this kid is so fast, he doesn't even know how good he is. So we took him on, and God, he was a shocker.
Was he?
Well, in a nice way. Yeah. In a nice way.
He's a cheeky boy. He's but he's
He came with me in warts and all, and the good thing was he respected, or he appreciated that this was an opportunity. And he did a lot of races with us. And funny enough, when we almost got destroyed way back when the Triple X racing team formed and Craig went across there, he was also the guy that almost brought about my downfall.
Really?
So our relationship is only just getting better, because I'm not one to let go very easily, but of course he took out senior people, or Triple X did in those days, and our driver, and that was very hard to get over that that would happen. Anyway, these days he says, "Come on, are you over it yet?" And I said, "No," and he goes, "Come on, I'm not going to do many more races, but you and I need to do a race to bury the hatchet."
Nice.
So I said, "See that woman over there?" He said, "You're not going to do it again, are you?" I said, "You go and tell her that you're going to drive and see what she says." And Joy says he always comes up and goes, "Hi," and gives her a kiss and all the rest of it. And she says, "I can feel that he wants to say, come on, I want to come back and do a couple of races."
Yeah.
But he was close to us. And funny enough, a lot of the drivers, even today with Johnny Reid and Matt, all the drivers end up, it's a fatal mistake that I have, that I most probably get too involved with them.
Close to them.
Too close. And I can't change that because that's just the way that it is. But back in those days, like the things... And poor old Brett Riley was as honest as a day's long. I'm not saying Craig wasn't, but they would fiddle with his tyres and they would...
Cheeky.
Do things. And... "Did you touch that car last night or do anything?" "No, shit, no." "Well, how come it's now this?" And the mechanics are saying, "No." But, yes, he was special.
Yeah. Tell me about Brett Riley, while you're at it. Come on.
Well, I knew Brett's dad, Johnny Riley, and we raced against him. And I'd seen Brett around a lot of the race circuits when we were going, and Brett was the kid sitting in the back seat of the car while his dad was in the pub with Red Dawson and all the rest of them. And he used to say, "I'm going to drive a race car with you guys." "Oh, yeah. And, of course, he went off to Europe and he ended up with Nigel Mansell flatting with him. He didn't have the belief in himself that he needed to, and that's why Mansell beat him to the drive with Chapman, because Brett had done an amazing race in the Uniparts, single-seater in the little F3 cars in the wet, and Chapman came and gave Brett his phone number and said, "Give me a call, but make sure you ring me tonight before a certain time." And Brett told me, I said, what actually happened there, mate? So Brett also is not a big drinker, and he was at the pub with Mansell, and Mansell knew that Clark, that Chapman had spoke to him. He said, "Are you going to ring him or not?" And self-doubt came in. He said, he's only going to tell me I need to bring money and blah, blah. So he hummed and hard, and it was getting close to, I think it was 9 o'clock that it had to be. So he said, "If you're not going to give it to me." So Mansell slid down the other end of the bar, rung Chapman, made an appointment for the next day and all the rest of it. And, of course, he got the job and Brett didn't.
Wow, sliding doors.
And Brett regretted it in some ways. And I think he regretted it a lot. But as the years went by, he handled it very well. But he is such a gentleman. But, gee, he's talented.
Very. Speaking of talented, one of the things I feel immensely proud of, but I feel was an enormously difficult thing to do, was kind of emceeing Jason Richards' funeral.
Oh,
right?
I remember you doing it up here, yes.
He was a great guy, mate, great guy, and you got to see some good things as far as his talent was concerned, and I feel sad in many ways, mate, that we weren't afforded the chance to see even more in supercars from him, you know.
Well, his arrival with me was almost the same as Craig Baird's. So
determined.
No, the way he arrived into we were at Manfield and we were running the two cars. We had been given the go-ahead to build the new one. So we had a buyer for one of the coupes, and Jason had a mate who was flogging him to anyone who would listen and trying to get him a drive. And this elderly guy, or not elderly guy, but a mature guy rocks up and with this lady, and she said, he said, can we talk to you? Oh, yeah, like, who are you? And it was Dave and Pauline.
Sorry, mate. I know. It's okay.
I fell in love with him too. So we said, look, we're going to do it.
You couldn't not. He just had a beautiful personality, didn't he?
So we did a test day. Let me get my breath back. So Craig, right. What's this little prick doing here? So he kept tapping and giving Jace a real hard time. But Jace wore him down and, of course, did well. He BMW loved him. But the way he came into that tent after his mum and dad had been in, and we were all, I don't know whether we'd finished a race or doing a race, and this kid comes through the door like a bloody rocket. Oh, I'm Jason. I'm going to drive for you. Why? But it was so, what do you call it? It was so nice. You couldn't be offended by it.
No, correct. Beautifully enthusiastic, wasn't it? That was it.
He was. And then, of course, time went on and he moved on to Team Kiwi right at the wrong time. And I said, mate, you're doing the wrong thing. He said, I know, but what can I do? I can't get a drive anywhere else.
Tell me about a couple of other youngsters that are on posters outside. A very young Dan Gaunt coming through here. And I think you had, am I right in saying, you had, he might have had an incident in the testing,
race.
very first TRS, is that right?
Yes.
And you had to ring, did you have to ring Sir Colin Giltrap and convince him that, hey, no, this guy's, we've got to get back behind him, don't we?
No, well, we got rougher than that. So the Toyota series is starting.
Yeah.
I think he's there, isn't it?
Is it? Could be, yeah.
And same thing, who are we going to have for driving? And I've always had a pretty good eye to know good drivers and things. So I put up who I thought, and then Colin said, well, which one? So I said, my choice would be Dan Gaunt, hungry, he's wanting to go places and all the rest of it. So we were putting our race team together, and he all fired up. We've done some tests, all good. We go to Ruapuna. Now, we're not going to go for fast times and all the rest of it, so just
ease in.
Ease ourselves in. Colin, make sure you ring me each time we run. Yeah, always, because I'd known Colin for so many years.
Yeah.
And so Stephen Giles says, I think, she's good to let him go. The car's all settled down and let's see how we go. So I was wandering back somewhere and I heard people go, oh, that's a big one. I thought, oh, look, I wonder who that is. I went to the toilet and I come back from the toilet and next, where are you? You better get here. Oh, yeah, okay, no big deal. I go back and I see this car coming back in two pieces. And it's our car, I can see the colour. I go, oh, Jesus, you're joking. So how is he? Oh, he's all right, he's bumping around over there, but he's not looking forward to seeing you. So we had a chat. What'd you do, lad? He goes, oh, I can't say that something locked up in the car, but I wonder whether it did or whether I just went too hot and all the rest of it. I said, Jesus, like, this is the first meeting, mate. This is not going to go down well. So I rang Richard Giltrap. I said, hey, we've got a bit of a problem here. Oh, yeah, what's that? The car's in two pieces. And he goes, yeah, I'm joking. I said, no. He said, oh, don't ring me. You ring the old man. I said, yeah, okay. So I ring Colin, and he says, I've already heard. I said, so how bad is it? I said, well, it's in two pieces. It's what? I said, it's in two pieces, but the driver's okay. I give out the driver. He says, put it in the container and come home. I said, what about the other car? No, leave him going. I said, mate, are you sure? Yes. I said, Toyota have got a tub here. He goes, no, come home. So I wait for a while. Richard rings me. He said, what did he say? He said, I'll come home, but we can't do that. We'll have to just let the dust settle. He said, ring Michael. I said, why? He said, oh, Michael's pride at the moment. I'm on the back foot with the old man, so I ring Michael. He goes, yeah, the old man's told me. What's happened? I said, we don't quite know, but something locked up at the hairpin, caught the concrete curbing and just snapped the car in half. Is he all right? Yeah. Okay, leave it with me. So don't get a phone call all night. Next morning, yeah, so what'd you do? I said, I'm waiting to hear from you. Why? I said, because you said pack it all up and come home. Well, you said they had a tub there. And I said, yeah, but you said...
Pack it up.
Yeah, pack it up and come home. He goes, you sure you have? I reckon you put it together again. And I said, well, how would you know that? And he says, because I've got spies. And I said, no, we're going to need a tub. So I put the tub there and we've just sat the suspensions on. Oh, so it's not ready to race. Well, not really. Willie, is it ready to race? Well, it could be. So we dodged the bullet, and every now and again when I have some problems with Dan, I say, just remember what happened last time. He goes, oh, yeah, but you're easier to deal with. But he won us the Grand Prix.
Yep.
He won us the Lady Wigram Trophy race. And he's one of those ones that's got under my skin and been a real... And, of course, it's a pleasure having him back with us now.
Correct,
But he was... like Jason and like Craig, he was a hear-em, scare-em back then too.
Was he? Couple more to finish while we pick your brains on a few drivers. Earl Bamber.
Earl, yeah. Well, Earl, later on in life now, of course, he's a different person. But back in those days with us, nobody would touch him. I helped him get the job in Mercedes AMG when he wrote the car off the same as Daniel on the test day. But he's unbelievably talented, but he has absolute vision that it's him, and nobody else. I don't give a fuck about you, him, or whatever. And funny enough, back then, Colin was struggling with it all too, but we got through the Porsche stuff and away he went, and of course now you see how successful he is, and that's because of that drive that he had. But his father became a good mate to me, and because he knew that I was holding it together back in those early days, but it got too hard and fast overseas, and then he's moved on, and that's how it is.
And there is a photo of a very young Shane van Gisbergen before he's gone on to...
Yes, and he drove the Toyota too.
Yep.
That was the meeting at the A1, which is one of the more pleasurable meetings that I ever did that sticks in my mind, and that was mainly because we at the one meeting of the A1 Grand Prix, we run...
Dan Gaunt told me this. Did you run 30 cars? Is that right? How many cars did you run?
15 Porsches.
Yeah.
3 V8s with Angus Fogg, Paul Pedersen, and I forget the other guy. 3 Toyotas with Shane van Gisbergen, Daniel Gaunt, and I forget the guys, and 4 Minis.
Amazing. That's got to be just about a record, doesn't it? I mean, how many staff did you have to run all that?
I had, I think it was just on 50, but it was the things that you don't think about, like the logistics of it snowballed on me, and the accommodation, the tyres, the brakes, the parts,
all the different
fuel,
cars,
the cars, and wherever I went, I had somebody. It's not fair. He's done this. It was just constant for 3 or 4 days of the worst side of telltales and things. Yeah. But I must admit it took a couple of days to come right after that meeting. But we won a lot of races in that day too. That was certainly one of the major efforts we ever did.
Are you not surprised Shane's gone on to go and do what he's done?
No. He drove the Porsche for us as well. Yeah. And it was what you see now and what you've watched from...
The early snapshot you got of that.
There was no halfway. He was... I said, well, hang on. Gee, you're trying to kill the car. That's how I drive. We ain't going to have a very long relationship here. But at any rate, he was just another street above everyone else.
Okay, this next steer could be one of my best yet. Speaking of team ownership and racing cars, you have to head back into Rusty's garage and listen to Roland Williams Surreydain and the story behind Triple Eight Racing.
I had to do something to try and put together a crew that would win Bathurst. And so not everyone, but a lot of people used to pair their drivers up in those days. So I wanted somebody who was really good to put with Craig, but who also would be a young Australasian driver who would appeal to the local market, who would be a sort of half a generation younger than Craig, with potential. So, and I spoke to. There were 3 people on the shortlist. There was Frosty, there was Davo, Will Davison, and Jamie. And to be honest, the one who jumped the hardest, highest, fastest to try and do something was Jamie. Yeah, he was. I think he thought it was a wind up when he got a phone call from me. But he was driving that year in 2005 for another very good friend of mine, Tim Miles, but he was out of a drive at the end of the year. So he knew that. I think Murph was coming in the following year or whatever. So he couldn't get on a plane fast enough to come up, and he didn't care, or he said he didn't care about the money. So I didn't pay him very much if he didn't care about it. So he was ready, willing, and able, but we had been particularly impressed by his driving in the 2 Enduros both at Sandown and at Bathurst with Jason Richards.
Another unreal player in the world of motorsport. Now, back to Rusty we go.
Can we talk a couple of stories before we get to what you're doing now and the business here and so on? Firstly, David Brabham has been on the podcast. So's Craig Baird, for that matter, over time. Yeah, both of them have. Walk me through winning and then Morris and Baird losing Bathurst, but at the same time, the sister car wins it. That famous 2-litre race. You've got
it's on the wall over there. The bottom one is the newspaper.
What are we talking? So it's AMP Bathurst 1000, 1997, I think, wasn't it? So,
So we're going reasonably well through testing. BMW have moved in behind us brought people out from Germany. I had to go to Germany and be briefed on how they want to run it, because the competition with Audi and Brad Jones, Audi were helping him, and it was dog eat dog. Yeah. And we had quick cars. We were on top of it. Next minute there's a scream on the phone, puncher. So Baird or Morris comes in with the tyre off. Car goes up, flicks the wheel off, but the wheel nut spins and goes off into the
fast line. Mm-hmm.
So we get it all sorted and send them. And next minute, Tim Jenkins sent a guy down, you go and tell Williamson I want to see him up here. And I think, oh, fuck, we're so busy, and it was the heat of the battle. And I don't know what I said to the guy, but I just said, you tell Tim I'll get there when I can, but I get this message. No, you'll come now or I'll black flag your car. So, oh, fuck, really? So I go upstairs and Tim's got this grin on his face. Oh, so you're too big important that you can't come and see me? And I said, no, we're just a bit busy. So what did I just see on your screen? He goes, just listen to me, I'm talking to you. I said, that's our car. And he said, yeah, well, you've been pulled in and blah, blah, blah. I can't, no, something's wrong. Anyway, tell me off, what are you going to do? He said, oh, get back down there, you fucking Kiwi, or whatever he said to me. I get back down there. I said, what happened? And they said, we just came in and changed the wheel and that again because it wasn't right, and we changed drivers. You what? So I said to Paul Sepernik, hey, and he just erupted. I said, you realise what you've done? And he goes, mate, if you think you can do it, you do it, blah, 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 blah. I said, you know, we're short on time, so we're going to have to do another stop.
Because you were worried about minimum and maximum laps for the drivers, weren't you? Yeah,
and he was short by something small, like 2 or 3 laps.
Okay.
And I think it was Craig who went back in the car, but he had picked off Craig Owen saying, hey, we've stuffed up, you're going to have to go back in the car again. And it was just a disaster. So Rudy Minor was there, and so was Paul Rocher, and they said, you concentrate on the Brabham car now, and just Morrison. You knew then
it was game over for it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we knew that we could not fix it.
Far out.
Well, we knew we could, but we knew we couldn't fix it to bring him back onto the first.
Yeah.
And Terry Morris was just on fire. So he says, you did that deliberately. And I said, fuck off. No, I wouldn't do that. At any rate, it fumed for the rest of the race. And then somebody from inside the German thing was talking. This is what the hearsay was. And in the proximity of the Morrises, but I never knew whether it was true or not. And somebody apparently said, well, it suits BMW for the Brabhams to win, not the other car. Now, I never ever saw that sort of indication or statement in my dealings with BMW. They were always very straight. So that's caused all sorts of problems. And then, of course, it came to BMW having a fallout with the Morrises, and it was not a happy time. But luckily we got first and second still, but the wrong way round.
You knew Craig pretty well. How was he in the wake of that? I mean, feeling like he'd won his first Bathurst and then, to have it...
Well, everyone the whole team on that car was gutted. But there has been stories that it was a big surprise. We knew within half an hour, three-quarters of an hour, when Paul Superneck, we had a big whiteboard there and we were doing all the plotting and we could see, oops, there's a problem.
Okay. Damn.
It's going to cost another pit stop.
So on the one hand, you had that scenario and then you had the Brabhams winning it as well. I mean, it's sort of bittersweet in some ways, isn't it?
It was. And then we went on and won the Manufacturers' Championship. And good old Germans forget that. That's what happened. Yeah, but I'm getting a lot of flack from these people over there. Who cares? Just forget it. Don't
move on.
I said, I have to work with them, and and by the way, they own the building where we are. Don't worry. Shit, it was quite cold and very cold.
I'm just going to break into the chat again here for everyone's benefit, including Lyall's too. This is his recollection of a high-stakes moment in motorsport. You all know how big Bathurst is. Paul Morris would go on to win, but it was 14 years later with Ford Performance Racing. So you can appreciate the tension that would exist around something you've worked your whole life for, seemingly slipping from your grasp, especially as the Morrises had such prominent positions in this team. Now, Bairdo, Paul and David Brabham are all in our Rusty's Garage library, so I would implore you to listen to their take on Bathurst 97 as well, so you can then form a balanced opinion. For clarity, Lyall said it was just hearsay that in some corners BMW people allegedly may have indicated a Brabham win suited them better. Remember, that's hearsay. Now, let's get back to the podcast. They say time heals a lot of wounds. Is that wound healed with those guys, or is it not something that you're talking about now?
Paul Morris has given me a flick in the ear quite a few times. He doesn't deal with actually what happened. He just thinks that it was a big setup and all the rest of it. But Paul's Paul. We had a good relationship while it all worked, but he'd be silly if he thought that it would have been something that we could have been that clever to engineer.
The business here now does some amazing restorations, beautiful, beautiful cars. What have you got 17 staff here? How many? 17 staff. Some great cars that are being restored, but also race cars. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've always done the restoration work, and that came from Archibald's, because the latter part of my apprenticeship was Archibald's have built quite a large car collection in those days. So I was, when we went motor racing, that's the sort of work we were doing. And PDL, of course, Bob Stewart had the same philosophy, so it was inbred in me to do that. It's very difficult to run a race team in this country and keep staff employed and
just
going.
On the race cars.
And our seasons are getting better and longer. And luckily these days we have some of the best drivers and people supporting the cars and things, so we can actually do it. But it also teaches them, the mechanics, and that a finer side of this of doing cars when you do restoration work. But it also works the other way around, where if they're good at doing a race car, they should be good at setting up a road car. But I think at the moment we've got something like 3 years work waiting to be done. But as I'm heading towards the latter part of my working life, Nick has some different views, most probably on how he's going to run it in the future, no doubt. But while I'm still here doing it, we'll still keep restoration work while it's available to us.
Good. I've had a couple of people help me with different bits and pieces of information for this. So Johnny Reed's been very kind as well, right? He says you have, I'm quoting him here, you have a great way in leading the men and women that make up the successful team that is International Motorsport, right? You always feel a part of the family rather than just a part of the race team. Lyall also hides his Belgian biscuits from me on race weekends. My most enjoyable moments with him are always over a glass of red just to sit and listen to the history.
That's nice of him.
Yeah. He's been, I mean, Andrew Waite's been a more recent addition. There's been some great ones that you've had pass through here, mate. And what did you say before? Like 100 drivers or thereabouts. Is that right over time?
Well, of course, you look at how many years it's been and how many. It's amazing. But I can't even believe it myself, really. But it's. I'll show you some of the stuff upstairs. But the record, I've always been a bit of a stickler at having all the records done, and even to this day now we still have briefing books and things way beyond what other people have. But the records that go back, because every now and again I get caught with a guy coming up and saying, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I'm hopeless with that sort of thing. And then he reminds me who he was, because we've had some that just come and did drives with us. We've had people that have stayed for many a year, but it's good looking back and seeing that, but. I've never really had them coming saying nasty things. They've always seems to have gone away, apart from that Fahey era, which was, considering how many people I've had working for us over the years, and we've won something like 34 national championships. I mean, while I don't dwell on it, you caught me out the other day when I was thinking. And I choke on those sort of things a bit, but then I get back to old ways and just get on with it again. We don't sit here dwelling about it.
Yep. Okay. Couple. While we're on that too. I mean, some beautiful photos that surround us, some beautiful memories, trophies, ribbons, you name it. Is there one in all the time that you cherish, that you think, I mean, they're all special for different reasons, I'm sure. They are. But is there one that you feel like, wow, winning that, or that was, so rewarding, or so is there one that stands out?
That Bathurst trophy out there would have to be the number one.
Really?
And number two would have to be that amazing race that Jim Richards and Leo did against the Trans-Tasman at Manfield, when they lowered the lap record every lap for the lap after lap after lap. One went faster and then the other did and the other did and the other did.
Amazing.
And I haven't seen many races like that again in my life, of going to thousands of races. But I have a different view about the trophies than most people, and I'm more aligned with the Denny and the Bruce sort of things, and that's why you most probably haven't seen it on the wall out there. But that was drummed into me very early on. That
you don't get hung up on that, do you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no one person. It's the driver and the team, neither of them can do it without the other. And he used to bring that up quite often. So the boys are now used to me saying the same thing. But some drivers think it's them, but I keep reminding them, even the truck driver, you got the car here, he's also part of it, and so all these people that do the wheels and do this and this. Yeah. You're the end result of it, but it's not just you.
Integral. What about, did the cars become just tools for you, and that, with each evolution they're better for their job, for their mission, and that's what they're built for? Or do you get the odd attachment to one where you go, that car for us was enormously special? Is there one or two cars that stand out for you?
I think Mustang won because of how many race wins it had.
This is the PDL stuff you're talking about now?
Yeah. I think that's wherever it is. I don't know. It's was something special because we won so many races with it in trying situations. We had three drivers that drove it. I was hands-on because that time I was telling you when we picked the car up, the team was me. Like, I drove the truck, I changed the tyres, I changed the engines. Murray Bunn helped us build engines, but when we were running out of money, I built the engines. I took the gearboxes out, and there was no big team. Jandal's come on board and worked with us, but he wasn't. He was like a timid mouse in those days. But you know, when Joy and I were heading off to go to the racing, we'd have to drive the old Bedford, wherever it is around here somewhere. Yeah. She would go, we drove up to Picton, all the way up to the north, do races, drive all the way home again. There was no big team. And that was satisfying in some ways, but it certainly taught me how to respect what needs to be done. But I crack up when I see these guys, we've got to have 12 guys on the car and all the rest of it. Right, yeah. But,
so the Mustang was one. Was there another one that's been special for you, real car, race car?
Most probably the only other one that I have a bit of affection for is the first championship winning car, which is the old Speedway car, because that was
the beginning of it all.
At the beginning of it all, and the camaraderie and those Speedway guys, the way they're mates with each other, they get boozed on Saturday night after it's finished, and then they fight each other and they think that's a great night. But, and that was too much. Like Joy was only 15 when I first met her, and taking her to Speedway and explaining, the wind's blowing this way, so you have to sit the other end. And then I'd see her after
covered in dust,
and she'd be covered in cinders. And of course, all the I didn't. My mother said, "How on earth did you get that girl?" But I mean, she was there from really right at the beginning.
A constant.
A
constant. And she's a constant now when I walk into the pit garage.
I can hear her out there.
Can you?
Yeah, I can hear her.
We'll finish up then, so we can have a little wander outside. I want to finish with what you said a moment ago, really, and that is when I walked in with a microphone at Highlands to talk to you. It was a crazy race a couple of weeks ago for the National Endurance Crown. Red flagged, heavy rain, really an electric finish from a spectator standpoint, and IMS was able to win it. And we might have started the interview and it went very briefly, but you got choked up. Just winning the most recent one meant as much as the first one, didn't it?
Yep, it does. That's just part of me. It's unusual because I'm hard on other things in business and all the rest of it, and yet I have an
emotional side.
That I can't control.
But it's lovely though, mate. It's lovely, and you channel it beautifully into other things. You know, you mentioned the scholarship before, and how you've worked for 20 plus years in that area and helping unearth and assist young racers.
You look at the people that have been through the academy, Brendan Hartley, all those other superstars that you see overseas, all come through that academy and sat at this desk and got interviewed, and all the records there of how we see something in them.
What do you see in them? When you look at them, what is it that you look for?
I wish I could. I've been asked that heaps of times, but it's something in their eyes, something how they approach you. You can see they're nervous. Like, it'd be good for you to come to the academy sometime down in Dunedin. But we have what's called the Lion's Den. And apart from all the other good things that they go through for that week, they have to put together during the week a sponsorship proposal, and then they have to come and present it to me. And normally I have one of the lecturers from down there with us. And you watch these kids choke like I do. Yeah. You see them put the worst proposals you've ever seen. And then now and again you see a gifted one that's, wow, you sure you did this? And because it's these days with electronics, it's easy to ring home and get something done. But, you know, to have 130, I think it is, through, and I was there for the original one. That's as important to me as it is some of the races.
Amazing. Congratulations. I mean, this business is still doing some amazing things in the racing sense now. There are some wonderful memories around here that you should be immensely proud of, personally and professionally. I love the stuff that you've done with apprentices through here, giving them opportunity in the same way that you've given some great names in the driver's seat opportunity, and that you're continuing to help unearth and give a hand up the ladder to youngsters coming through. Well done, mate.
Thank you.
Rusty's Garage is written and presented by me, Greg Rust. Series editor and producer is Thomas Dullard. Audio production by Link Kelly. If you've got a guest suggestion, get in touch with me via social media. The Garage, that's where a journey begins with a tank full of passion-fueled stories.